Going live like usual. How's it going, everybody? By the way, in case you guys haven't hit that notification bell when I go live, I don't know if there is a notification bell, but hit that notification bell whenever I think there's got to be. Anytime I post something, so there's got to be a notification bell when I go live. I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. But hit that thing, smash that thing. All right. So we go live every single day. We're also going to be going live every single day on BPI. We're going to be pumping out a lot of content. I actually have, I don't know if you could see it, but I'm going to move the camera. In that bag is a brand new camera that hopefully I'm going to be able to put up on this wall. So you're going to be able to get a little bit more business sense. This is going to be personal development. The BPI channel is going to be more about business, how to actually grow as an agent, grow as a person, grow as a seller. And it's just needed in the industry because there's really no one putting out that kind of content. Yes, there's Tom Ferry and there's real estate coaches, but they're not really in the game. They're out of the game. You know, they're good coaches, nothing against them. But they're not really in the game. They're not dealing with buyers, sellers. They're not calling. They're not dealing with social media trends and things like that. So, talking about trends, talking about a little hacking. You know, the first time I heard hack, wow, we already got five up here. I love it. What's going on, Chris? Everybody, announce yourselves to the classroom. Attendance being held. All right, I'm in a crazy mood right now. Anyway, let's go over the productivity hack. So the reason I call it a hack is because it's something that you already know, but you're probably not implementing. Why? Because I wasn't really implementing it. So unless you're actually taking inventory, so every single morning I come in and I write down what time did I arrive in the office. Why? So then I have a baseline. Here we go. How are we doing, everybody? I have a baseline of when I come into the office, when I start my live, when do I start my calls, when do I start my BPI live, when do I start my appointments, my follow up, and things like that. So then I could shorten it. You guys already know because I've mentioned it, unless you already forgot. But there's two people that this really came to my mind. Number one was Jeff Bezos. Someone asked him for lunch or something like that. And he replied and he said, listen, I'd love to go to lunch. I'm trying to save 30 seconds brushing my teeth. 30 seconds. That's how packed his day is. Obviously, running Amazon.com, which ironically enough, I don't know if you saw this post by him, but he mentioned that he was actually partnering with Best Buy, the company he almost put out of business. He took 10% of their market share, or Best Buy only has 10% market share right now, and he's partnering with them for a smart TV. And essentially, what they're going to be doing is saying, Alexa, play, and then it's going to be NFL football game or play whatever, and it's going to be on your TV, which is actually kind of good. Which is kind of also weird because I don't think TVs are the future. I think cell phones are the future. So I'm surprised he's investing so much money into that. But, he's obviously way smarter than I am. The second person who talked about time productivity was Elon Musk. He was doing an interview, I think in Dubai, and he was talking about, he said, I wish I could eat faster. Like eating takes too much time to him. And it's true. It's like if you literally sit down and you have a full meal, the minimum is 15 minutes. Like yes, you could just shove your face with food. That's not ideal. Like you want to chew it until it's easily digestible. My mom always said 5 chews, which is actually correct. Scientifically, if you put in a bigger piece of food, but isn't there more to life than breaking her down into 15, 30, 60 minutes? What's the spontaneity? Listen, spontaneity, that's a great question because spontaneity doesn't actually lead to success. Spontaneity is if you are disciplined. I am disciplined. So the spontaneity, I'll go over it. That's actually a good question. So the first hour of my day, this is what I mean by time chunking. Actually, Tony Robbins talked about this multiple times before. He calls it the what does he call it? I forgot the name of it, but it was time chunking. And obviously, in Deep Work by Cal Newport, he talks about deep work for an hour. In the Powerful Engagement, they talk about 60 to 90 minutes is the max amount of time that a human can be on until it needs a rest, a restart, and then willpower then recharges, and then you could go do something else. But you can't go like 3 to 4 hours being on. Trust me, I've tried to film for 3 to 4 hours. It's really freaking difficult. Okay, so the time chunking means that you understand. First of all, you have to understand your day. Okay, I'll go over mine really quick. So the first say 2 hours is my morning routine, which I can get into at another video. My morning routine in the gym. Okay, that's the first chunk of my day. The second chunk of my day is I'm doing live, outbound calls, and follow up. That's the second chunk. Then the third chunk is after lunch. That's going to be also follow up. And then the spontaneity, as Chris, you were talking about, is appointments, pitches, lives for BPI. It could be, doing the tasks or the hard work or whatever. And then the last chunk is going to be social media, content, blogs, dinner, if I have it, and things like that. In other words, dinner plans. In other words, what I'm saying now is, if you look at your first chunk and you say, how important is that chunk of time? So it's extremely important to me. So that means here's the example, is that my sister says she's coming into town. And what's going on, Paul? And my sister's coming into town, and the first thing that she says was, she wants to go out for dinner. And I notice, and I know, because now psychologically I know that the morning is it's everything. If I don't have a good morning, or I eat like shit, or I don't go to the gym, like this morning is our gym class got canceled, so I was lifting weights. I don't like lifting weights. They're boring. I don't know how much to lift. I don't know if I'm doing it properly. Yes, obviously there's the basics, but when I go to a gym class, they're showing us the form, and we're just shredding right through that. It's like CrossFit. So, and you get a really good sweat on. So this morning I felt a little bit off, so I needed to pump myself up to go live, to then make calls afterwards. But I know that the first part of my day, that time chunk is everything. Nothing gets in that way. I've moved closings, I've moved appraisals, I've moved walkthroughs, I've moved pitches, I've moved everything. That is my time. Okay? So when someone says, Charles, let's go out at night, I think, what's my morning chunk? And I say, it's meditating, journaling, affirming, going to the gym. I say, I can't go out at night that late, because my time chunk in the morning is super religious. If someone says in the afternoon, hey, listen, Charles, let's grab coffee, I say, well, that's my follow-up, and that's right in between the spontaneity, as Chris was talking about. That's right in between that. I might say yes to, depends on the person. I'm more inclined to do something in the afternoon, because those time chunks, I move around. Those things, like last night, I literally have, by the hour, exactly what I'm doing, and every second is filled until about 8 p.m. tonight. Okay? So when I come in the morning, I know what I'm doing. However, there are literally 3 hours. So chunking the day to get stuff done, but not the whole day. This is the thing is, in deep work, and in powerful engagement, and in, I forgot what the other book was, who it was, but they said there should be, I think it was Brian Johnson, but Brian Johnson, who's the philosopher out in California, amazing guy, you got to go check him out, his YouTube and everything else. He talked about not only time chunking, but he said you could really only have a max of 3. Okay, you have the morning, the midday, and the afternoon, and that's it. And if you could do 3 time chunks, you're golden. And this is work. This isn't like the gym before. This is like 9 to 11 is 1, 12 to 2, and then 3 to 5. And if you literally boil your down, and by the way, did you notice that I put 2 hours in between? I put an hour in the morning in between the first time chunk. So you could either do, go to the bathroom, get your water, eat food. You could do whatever you want between those 2 time chunks, but go into that as deep work. And then when someone says, can I take your time? That's essentially what an appointment is. Can I take your time? Can I go to lunch with you? Can I take you to dinner? Or me as a single guy, can I go to dinner? I always say, listen, we're going to have it, especially as a first date. Why didn't you mention Brian Tracy? Yeah, listen, sorry. Brian Tracy is probably one of the better ones at this. His earlier videos, when he was in the 90s, he has these videos. It's called Business Mastery or something like that, and it's a 5 DVD set. And I watched that 2 times because I said, this is insane. Like, he literally talks about exactly what to do. Yes, we can go into, obviously, Brian Tracy talks about eat that frog, super, obviously eat that frog. If you eat the ugliest frog, which is making the calls, which nobody wants to do, then you can say that every other frog after that you eat, in other words, if I make calls, which is the hardest thing to do, or reach out to people, or I don't know, miscellaneous tasks, do at the end of the day. In the beginning of the day, you have to look at your first 4 hours of the day. So if you wake up at 5, first 4 hours is probably 6 to 10. okay? Or if you wake up at 7 until 11, 7 to 11 is your time. That is your day, okay? Look at that as one big chunk and you say, okay, what am I doing the night before that may affect that chunk? Okay, that chunk of time. And then from there, you dial it down. Okay, so my first, until I go to the gym, or let's say until I go to work, I know exactly what I'm doing. But until I go to the gym, that one big chunk is everything. I wake up, I listen to something as I'm packing my bag, I then journal, I then meditate, I then affirm, then I go to the gym. I then go to a gym class for an hour. That is everything. Okay, that's one big chunk. Okay, I look at that as my morning routine. Okay, then I go to the gym and then I say outbound phone calls. Then I go live on BPI and then I do follow up. So that's really pushing content out. So that's the second chunk. Then I go to lunch. I come back and then I do additional follow up and then I could have appointments or whatever. My afternoon is a whole new chunk. Okay, but you have to look at your day and say, okay, when someone wants to take your time, what chunk are they doing? Are they taking time at night that's going to affect your hangover or tiredness in the morning? Or are they going for lunch and they may affect the spontaneity in the afternoon, which is more flexible? Okay, you have to look at your day religiously in about 3 segments, and then from there, then you go deeper into it, and then you say, this is the time I'm waking up, this is the time I go to bed, and then you just systematize it. Okay, I put my clothes out at night so I don't have to wake up and think, what am I going to wear today, and then make all these tough decisions. That's why Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg, they have the exact same clothes in their closet. There's a ton of Silicon Valley guys. They're like, I don't care what I wear. That's not a big decision. That doesn't affect my productivity. Me wasting time and willpower on that affects how I'm actually doing my business. All right. So when you guys think of this, highly recommend you look at your day in 3 segments, and then you see when someone asks for those segments, where is it cutting out? Is it cutting out in the afternoon? Awesome, that's not a big deal. If it's at night, that's going to affect the morning. If it's in the morning, that may affect the afternoon. So that's why I want to eat the same thing every day. Yeah, listen, I'll tell you right now, I don't care what, I eat the same thing. People are like, don't you get bored? No. Because I know exactly what I'm going to eat. I know it's healthy. I know exactly the time I'm going to wake up, the time I'm going to go to sleep. That's why, yesterday I mentioned, why isn't Charles married? I was sort of on, not really on for the beginning part of the video, but essentially it came down to is I don't want to fuck this up. I'm on such a roll right now. I have so many appointments that are coming up that could be massive amounts of business. I could pay down some business debt, and then I can just put my rainy day fund at a new level and then start investing back into the company. And then by 2019, which you guys should always be looking towards the future, you could say, okay, my day, there's going to be a time that I'm not going to be able to maybe even do this on a cell phone. Maybe I'm going to have someone doing this where it's 720 with a better microphone, where they're doing it, they're handling it, but I'm not at that point. Okay, I actually wrote it down in the journal today, is that this is the dirty year. What's his name talks about it, clouds and dirt. You got to have a dirty year. You got to have the year that you're the dishwasher, you're the maitre d', you're the cook, and you're the hostess. And then when your restaurant gets good enough or your business gets good enough, then you hire a secretary, then you hire a CFO, then you hire a COO, then you put in a chief technology, a content person, a marketing person. Until that time, you're in that dirt. Stop being so fancy, as Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it. I was too fancy. And I wasn't chunking my day. I was doing the easy things, as Brian Tracy talks about. I was on someday I'll, as Bob Proctor talks about. Someday I'll do this. Someday I'll reach out to business. I'll call. I'll do the outbound. This is probably the dirty years, And actually, ironically enough, I'll give you, who talks about this, or what I really respect about Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek wrote. The 2 great books, Start With Why and Leaders Eat Last, and he is coming out with a new book about endless games. I actually heard him talking about it, or not talking about it, but I heard him speak about it, and it was unbelievable. It was at MSG. I got in for free, because I'm awesome. It was a $1,000 ticket. I got in for free, and I just saw all these unbelievable speakers. Nassim Taleb, whatever, a bunch of guys who wrote Black Swan and a bunch of other books. So this is what I was thinking, is that 0 to 10 years old, and obviously, what's his name talks about this. He runs an idea. If you're like, exactly, yeah. It's the same thing as like, do you go for immediate gratification now or do you push it out? Immediate gratification now is the donut. Okay, but you're pushing out the suffering later on, which is clogged arteries, heart attack, stroke, disease, cancer, things like that. You're pushing that out. One cigarette's not going to kill you. One donut's not going to kill you. You do that every single day. One time not going to the gym is not going to kill you. You never going to the gym is gonna make you just settle in life. I honestly, I'll be truthful right now. I honestly look at the people in the real estate industry, and there's only about 40 to 50 people that out of 33,000 that I actually really respect because they have an overall lifestyle. A lot of people are crushing it and making millions of dollars, but they're leaving no legacy. They made millions of dollars, but they're leaving no legacy. There is no content, there is no book, there is no podcast. That's cool with them. That's cool with me because that's what they want to do, and that's the life they want to live. It's not the life I want to live. It's not the life I want to live. I want to live literally, you guys see me along the journey, going through the hard things, going through the easy things, talking about the marketing. That's why I want to do the BPI podcast so you can see the business aspect, the hard part of actually being an entrepreneur. I'll leave you with this is something, Simon Sinek experiments before he writes a book. And this is something that literally this morning ran across my mind, and then I'm going to pop off. From 0 to 10, you're figuring things out. 0 years old. 0 to 10, you're really figuring things out. Like what's hot, what's cold, what should I do, what should I not do? 10 to 20, you start experimenting. You start saying, I'm going to drive really fast, or I'm going to, hit a baseball bat into a window. I'm going to drink too much, or I'm going to smoke too much, or, I'm going to get into a fight. That's 10 to 20. 20 to 30 is more about how do I put these things together? The last 20 years were great, but how do I absorb this into my life? Then from 30 to 40, you actually start creating your life. So that's what I'm doing right now is I'm creating my life based on experimenting and how this fits into my life. You start creating your life. This is where all the wealth, this is where all the habits come in, is 30 years old. And then 40 to 50, you're refining it. And then 50 to 60, you start leaving it behind for the next generation. Or it could be, once you start getting older, maybe 40 to 55, you start refining it. 55 to 70, you start leaving it behind. But look at a guy like Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio, I think he's in his 60s. He's the largest hedge fund in the world, and his legacy is principles. And I think he's going to write another book because he said, you know what? I made all the money. And to be honest, him and Ray Knight, no, not Ray Knight, Phil Knight. Phil Knight, Ray Knight was actually a baseball player for the Mets. Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, in his book, very, very vulnerable. The thing is, he spent no time with his kids. One of them, I think, I don't know if he ended up killing himself or he ended up dying. The other one, he doesn't really have a good relationship with. So it's like, dude, you built Nike. It's a beautiful company. But the thing is, dude, you really sacrificed a lot of time and a lot of effort. And he talks about it in the book. Highly recommend you watch or you read his book, Shoe Dog. Very good book, unbelievable book. But that's the thing is that he went his whole life creating without actually giving. Now he gave back in Shoe Dog, and he talked about Nike. But you have to reflect a little bit. That's the spontaneity that Chris was talking about. So that's the way that I see it. It depends on where you are. So in your 20s, what I recommend is say, okay, everything that Charles is talking about, everything that Brian Tracy and Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk and Tony Robbins and all these other guys, Valuetainment, what I've learned, all these YouTube channels, how does it affect me? And then 30 to 40, that's when you really start creating your life in your 20s. But 30 to 40 is when the habits really start setting in. And like I've said, I really truly think the success in life is outlasting. Just outlast the competition and you will be successful. Just outlast someone at the gym or in business or in a relationship. It's like the last person standing, in that show, The Bachelor, it's like the last person standing is the person that outlasts the emotional, the drama, being on TV. What do people think? How am I acting? Just outlast people. I'm telling you, that is one of the biggest things that I've noticed probably in the last year is that I've seen and I'll just leave you with this, is that I saw a friend 2 days ago, a really good friend. I've known him for probably 20 years. The guy is overweight, like significantly overweight. His wife is having a baby. He's living in Philly. You can see that fire that I grew up with is gone. It's gone. I'm just starting. And nothing on him, but you could see that the reason that we're not as close, and the reason that he moved out of the city, maybe for the kid and everything else, but the reason was that he settled in one thing. It might have been the relationship. Then he settled going to Philadelphia instead of living in New York City or the suburbs of New York City. He said, I wanted it to be cheaper and quieter and everything else. Nothing on him. But you start settling on small things, and then you start settling on big things like kids, where you live, the job. He's not really happy. Then you start settling on your health and your weight. Then it really starts affecting things because you can't play with the kids. It starts becoming a burden, and things, you don't have the energy, the enthusiasm, and it just, So outlast, don't settle, don't make excuses, get out there and fucking crush it. How about that? All right, so I don't even know what the original title of this video was, and I don't even know what I was just talking about, but time chunk. Time chunk your day and make sure shit that doesn't belong in that chunk is not added to that chunk. Don't sleep over someone's apartment because you want to. Well, maybe if you want to, but that is your morning routine. Don't bullshit around once you're at work and you need to make outbound phone calls. Stop adding bullshit to the important time chunks of the day, and then from there you slice it down to outbound phone calls, follow-ups, going live on BPI, and then you could add in talk to my neighbor for 10 minutes when I'm on lunch, talk to someone at the water cooler, things like that. So I hope that helps a little bit, but look at your day in time chunks and then take it down from there. All right. So I'm going to be talking about it's off and on what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow. It's either going to be my legacy, what I want to leave behind, or I'm going to be talking about how fast can you recover. All righty. So talk to you guys soon. I hope that was a little bit better. I'm going to be talking on BPI. I highly recommend you guys go over to there because next week that camera is going to be installed that I showed in the beginning, and we're going to start going live on BPI's YouTube every single day with business because I can't talk about, well, I can, but I'm going to be talking about hot topics, sellers strategy, and some other shows. Have an awesome day. Talk to you guys soon. See you tomorrow. Subscribe every single day, baby.